Kyle Hunter for BangTheBook.com with a Thursday college basketball preview for February 21st. Hope you had a good week so far. Hope you've been able to make some money. College basketball in full swing. March Madness right around the corner. Just a couple weeks till conference tournaments get underway for the smaller conferences. Love that time of the year. Obviously love conference tournaments and March Madness. You know, both as a fan and a sports bettor, I think it's a great time of the year. Got you a preview for Wednesday's card, February 20th, and now I'm going to get you a preview for February 21st. Hope you were able to check out yesterday's preview. I'm going to look at Thursday's games for this video, and then I'll be doing a video on Friday to look at Saturday's huge card. Saturdays are always a very, very large card in college basketball. Lots of games, hard to pick out certain spots. I feel like those are really helpful to be able to do a short video like this to where we talk about some of the games where situational spots or recent trends or matchups really stand out. So if you haven't already been doing so, I recommend you check out the daily free picks article that I'm doing for BangTheBook.com. Been a great start to the season. Started those up at the beginning of the year, January 2nd, and it's gone really well so far. So I know a lot of people have been able to tail and make some good money. I also really hope that people are finding out some information that's going to help them in their own betting. You know, that's really my goal in the long term, is to help other people in whatever way I can. And I think that information, knowledge is power in this business, certainly in college basketball where there's so many games to pick from. So hope you've been able to do that. And if you haven't already been checking that out, I would recommend you do so. Subscribe to Bang the Book on YouTube to get videos like this. One's from Adam Burke, Brian Blessing, as we go forward here on Bang the Book. And let's start taking a look here at the Thursday, February 21st card. I have to say, this is not a great, it's quite a few games. There's not a lot of great situational spots, in my opinion. I also don't think that there's marquee games. I'm fine with not being marquee games. You guys know me. I love under-the-radar games. And we're going to talk about a couple under-the-radar games here. There's really not any. We had Duke, North Carolina to talk about for Wednesday. Nothing like that, nothing even close to that. But we'll still look down through these games and see what kind of matchups we find. UCF and Cincinnati. So I think Cincinnati's likely -5.5 or -6 in this game. Cincinnati's second in the AAC. UCF is third in the AAC. First of all, I have to say that I think the AAC is a really weak conference this year. I know Houston's a good team. Cincinnati's a pretty good team as well. Cincinnati has the same issue every year. They have a good, scrappy defense. They play very hard. Their offense can go MIA for a long period of time. You just see the end of that Houston and Cincinnati game from earlier this year, to where Cincinnati didn't score a point for the last 6 minutes of the game. Now, obviously, that's excessive, and they don't usually do that. But Cincinnati's offense relies a lot on Jaron Cumberland. They don't have a lot of good second options. Cincinnati's going to play hard. I worry about them being able to make a run in the NCAA tournament. I just don't think you can be that inefficient on offense, especially go through those long scoring droughts like they do and make very much of a run in the NCAA tournament. I think UCF's half-court defense is very good. Cincinnati's usually not a big transition team, but I think that Cincinnati will want to try to get some transition buckets in this one because they don't want UCF to be able to set up their defense. So let's see if they're able to make that difference from their normal game plan. As far as against UCF, you want to play a little bit differently than you do against the average team. So I'm watching to see about that. I don't think I'll make a bet on this game, but I think it's an interesting game to find out about these teams going forward. UNC Wilmington and Elon, really complicated game here. I think Elon's likely favored by a point or so, and maybe even around pick 'em. UNC Wilmington lost at home to Elon. This should be a really good road revenge spot, but Wilmington's also coming in off that emotional win over Hofstra. Big surprise over the Hofstra Pride, the team that had been winning a ton of games. They went on a really long winning streak there for a while. UNC Wilmington with the upset win. Can they play strongly 2 games in a row? To me, this is a big question mark. It certainly has letdown spot potential as well. So you've got possible road revenge for UNC Wilmington, but at the same time, they could be in a letdown spot. Whatever you think is the stronger angle, You could look toward taking UNC Wilmington or going with Elon. I think it's interesting to point out spots like that. And I always find it a fascinating handicap when you have one thing going one way and the other thing going the other way. They're both strong situations. So let's talk about one that is a stronger situation that seems a little bit more clear cut to me. Fort Wayne against South Dakota State. South Dakota State likely around minus 10.5, minus 11 in this game. Fort Wayne beat South Dakota State 104-88 earlier this year. The Jackrabbits have to remember that game. They gave up a ton of three-pointers in that game. Really, South Dakota State's been used to winning this league pretty easily in the past. They're being pushed this year. They're even in the loss column right now, so they have to win this game. This is a game that means a lot to South Dakota State, not just because of the revenge factor, but because of the league standings. So, in the Summit League, they really need this game. I found this stat pretty interesting. According to Bart Torvik's website, Fort Wayne is averaging 1.147 points per possession in the league at home. So in Summit League play at home, they're averaging almost 1.15 points per possession. On the road, 1.058. Now, it's pretty normal for a team to be a little bit better efficiency-wise at home than they are on the road, but that's a pretty big split there. So that's something to keep in mind about Fort Wayne is they haven't been nearly as efficient on the road. They still play quickly, just not nearly as efficient. South Dakota State's the top defense in this league. I would lay the points here with South Dakota State if I was playing this game. No way I could take Fort Wayne. I think this is a good spot for South Dakota State. Fort Wayne's had some close, tough games here of late. I think South Dakota State laying the points is the way to look if you're going to play this one. Winthrop and Radford. Radford went to Winthrop, won 80-61 earlier this year. Winthrop was 7 for 30 from three-point range in that game. Winthrop's coming off a surprising loss to Gardner-Webb. They might have been looking ahead to this game. This is a game that means a lot to them. Radford's first in the league. They're the best team in the league. But Radford's played a lot of really close games in this league. Winthrop really laid an egg in that first showing. Winthrop, very capable, well-coached team, talented team. Radford first in the league, like I said, they've had a ton of really close games. If Radford's laying 7, 7.5, 8 points in this one, I'd certainly look toward Winthrop with revenge on their minds because I think this Winthrop team is better than they showed in that first game, certainly. I think they're also better than they showed in the last game against Gardner-Webb. So let's see if Winthrop can show up in what is a good road revenge spot here. Eastern Washington and Southern Utah. Southern Utah likely -3 or so in this one. Eastern Washington playing third game here since Saturday. Southern Utah at elevation, definitely a better spot for the home team here. Eastern Washington's been really good at home, but look at what they've done on the road this year. They've won one game on the road this year. It was an overtime win at a bad team in the conference, Sacramento State. I feel like Eastern Washington may be a little bit overvalued because of what they've done at home. Have they proven anything on the road? I don't think they've proven anything on the road. So I'd be looking towards Southern Utah, a team that's improved here. Hopefully we get a good buy point of -2.5, -3 here for Southern Utah. San Francisco and BYU, the last one I'll talk about here. This is one where there was some talk about San Francisco being on the bubble earlier this year. Look, the bubble is so weak right now. This is a really, really weak bubble. I'm not going to feel bad for the teams that just barely missed out this year because they're not going to be good, especially the major teams. I really hope that we get some of these mid-major teams, the smaller school teams, in this year because if there was ever going to be a year for it, this is the year. San Francisco was talked about a little bit on the bubble earlier this year, had a couple bad losses. They're not really being talked about now. But the WCC is certainly a stronger conference than they were a couple years ago. The bubble is so weak this year. I think if San Francisco wins a game like this, they at least get back in the conversation. BYU is certainly a tough place to play at elevation, really good home court advantage based on that and the crowd. I think that this is a really fascinating game. The thing that I would like to play the most here would be the under. If you look at BYU's tempo, I like to look at recent tempos and tempo changes. BYU is clearly playing slower of late. I'm not really sure why they decided that they wanted to slow it down. At the beginning of the year, they were really pushing pace. Here of late, slowing down quite a bit. San Francisco usually plays to the pace of the other team in general. I think if we see a total of 150 or higher in this one, I'd look very hard at the under here. I think San Francisco and BYU will be a hard-fought game. Both of these teams pretty good on defense. Both pretty good teams overall, but I think that the tempo will be slower than what most would expect. So I think a total in the 150s would be too high here. So let's see where this total comes out. Definitely follow me on Twitter at Kyle Hunter Picks, at Bang the Book. You can follow Bang the Book on Twitter as well. Check out the daily free picks article I do there at bangthebook.com. If you have any comments, suggestions, anything like that, feel free to send me a message at Kyle Hunter Picks on Twitter. You can also respond to these videos. I try to check out these video responses when I can. Certainly not able to do that right away, so don't be surprised if you don't get an answer right away. It would be the quickest way to try to get a hold of me on Twitter at Kyle Hunter Picks, like I said. Give this video a thumbs up. Certainly appreciate everybody who's doing that. It's something where you give thumbs up, you comment, stuff like that. It encourages me and Bang the Book to keep doing videos like this. So if you like videos like this, I encourage you to do so. I'll be back again here on Friday with a preview for Saturday's college basketball. Have a good rest of the week, and I will see you back then.